Okay guys, this is the Unit 7 Honors Review Packet. I'm starting with Part 4, which for most of you should be the third side or the third piece of paper. Notice it's specifically just telling you to use the Pythagorean theorem to solve for x. So I'm going to just do the hardest one with you, number 27. When I use the Pythagorean theorem, it's important that the longest side, the hypotenuse, right, is the one that's c. It's on the side by itself. So I'm going to have root 6 squared plus x squared equals 2 root 2 all squared. Remember, I'm squaring this whole value. So root 6 times root 6 is 6. This says take 2 root 2, squaring means, and then multiply it by itself. So this times this. Well, if I do that, 2 times 2 is 4. Root 2 times root 2 is root 4. Well, that really just has a value of 8 because that's the same as 2. 4 times 2 is 8. So I'm going to subtract 6 on both sides. And then we want to leave our in simplest radical form. So we're going to take the square root. And the square root of 8 is the same as 2 root 2. And you can think about it a couple ways. Remember, root 8 is the same as root 4 times root 2. Or you can use a factor tree. Okay, let's do one of these together. Why don't we do number 30? So we take the two smaller ones and we say, let's see if it's equal to the larger one, because if it's equal to the larger one, then I'm going to have a right triangle. We don't know if they're equal, so we put that little question mark. So I end up with 85 is bigger than 64. Remember, this is my c squared side. What this is telling me, so normally if I have a right triangle, it would look like this, right? And that's c. Well, my c is too big, right? Which means that's going to open up my angle. That's what's going to give me that acute angle. So when c is too big, when c is too big, you get obtuse. When c is too small, it does the opposite. It shrinks. You get an acute triangle. Sorry, didn't mean to do that. But yeah, if c squared is too big, it's obtuse. If c squared is too small, it's acute. Down to topic 5. So it says solve for the unknown values, and I should have said specifically using special right triangle rule. So using special right triangle rules, and leave your answers in simplest radical form. So no rounding decimals. We have to have a radical instead, unless it's a whole number. So we have two rules. Remember, we have 30, 60, 90 rules. Oopsies. Which says if you have the small side, you can solve for the medium side by multiplying by root 3. You can go backwards by dividing by root 3. You can solve for the long side by multiplying by 2. You can solve for back to the short side by dividing by 2. So let's do a 30, 60, 90 one. Why don't we do number 33? So I have, here's my 60, here's my 30, so here's my short side, my medium side, my long side. If I have my medium side, the only option I have is to solve for the short side by dividing by root 3. So I take my medium side and I divide by root 3. Remember, dividing is the same as by putting something in the denominator, right? Or multiplying it into your denominator if there's always something there. So those are going to undo each other, and we're left with 5. So that's the length of my short side. I use this to solve for this. Okay. Well, now that I have my short side, I can solve for my long side, and I do that by multiplying by 2. So x is going to have a value of 10. Well, let's do another one. Why don't we try, let's do 35. That's the trickier one. So here's my 30, my 60, my 90. So this is my short side. This is my medium side. This is my long side. Again, I have my medium side, so the first thing I have to do is go to my short side by dividing by root 3. Okay. Well, this is kind of nasty. I can't have a radical in my denominator, so I need to rationalize my denominator. I multiply by a value of 1. So this value isn't changing, it's just going to look different. Just like when we multiply, I've done this in class a couple of times. If you have 1/2 and you multiply by 2 over 2, that's a value of 1, you're going to get 2/4. Well, 1/2 and 2/4 have the exact same value, right? They just look different. Okay, so same thing here. 6 root 6 over 3. Well, we're going to simplify that. We're going to have a 2 left over, so it's going to give me 2 root 6 for my short side. Well, now if I want to solve for my long side, I take my short side and I multiply by 2. Well, 2 times 2 is 4. Root 6 is just going to be root 6. So that's my value of u. Okay, so that's my 45, 45, 90 triangle, or sorry, my 30, 60, 90 triangle rules. I also have 45, 45, 90 triangle rules. And I'll do this down here in the corner. Okay. For 45, 45, 90, we have 2 legs that are congruent and a hypotenuse. To multiply, or to solve for the hypotenuse, we multiply by root 2. To solve backwards for the leg, we divide by root 2. So let's do one together. Why don't we do, we'll do number 32. So here's a leg, here's a leg, here's a hypotenuse. The hypotenuse has to be on the longest side across from the 90-degree angle. Well, if this is 4, my other leg has to be 4. And to get my hypotenuse, I multiply these by root 2. So 4 times root 2 is just 4 root 2. That was a nice and easy one. Okay. Let's see, is that all of topic part 5? Yeah, that was all of part 5. So I'm going to end this video and then I'll start on part 6 in a second.